Now that's a good question.
Welcome back, students of science. And this week we have another good question. This week's question comes from Brian. And Brian asks, how big are cells? Brian, that is a good question. So let's talk about how big cells are. Let me just give you a frame of reference first. You may be familiar with the length of a meter. This is a 1 meter stick. And in the metric system, which is what scientists use, we use the measurement of the meter as the basic unit of length. Now, the meter can be divided into smaller units. 1/10 of a meter, which is about the width of a hand, is 1 decimeter. We just put a prefix in front of the word meter. 1/100th of a meter, which is about the thickness of a finger, is called 1 centimeter. 1,000th of a meter, which is about the thickness of a fingernail, is 1 millimeter. A millimeter is 1,000th of a meter. Now, let's imagine we take 1 millimeter, about the thickness of your fingernail, and imagine it is as thick as 1 meter. And we take that 1 millimeter and divide it into 1,000 slices itself. Each of those thousandths of a millimeter are called 1 micron. They are 1 millionth of a meter. When we talk about the size of cells, we're talking about units of measurements called microns or micrometers or 1 millionth of a meter. Now, here's the deal. Many bacterial cells measure about 1 micron in diameter, which means we can't see them with the unaided eye. We need a tool or instrument to see them, and that tool we use is called a microscope. So with a light microscope, we can see bacterial cells that measure about 1 micron in diameter. Now, most human cells measure about 25 microns in diameter, which is about 25 times bigger in diameter than a bacterial cell, which means, mathematically speaking, because we're talking about three-dimensional objects here, you could actually fit about 10,000 bacterial cells in one human cell. That's how much bigger they are, okay? Now, so those are typical sizes of cells. But you want to know what the biggest cell in the world is? Well, let me get my special handy-dandy ruler here, my cool space ruler. The biggest cells on Earth are thought to be those of an ostrich egg. An ostrich egg measures about 15 to 18 centimeters in length. So the distance between my two fingers here, which is about the width of my head. So the largest cell in the world is an ostrich egg, which is about, well, pretty much the size of my brain. So you might say that I have a bird brain in terms of size. Hopefully not really a bird brain, but the size of my brain is about the size of an ostrich egg, which is the largest cell in the world. But for the most part, cells are microscopic and you need a microscope in order to see them. But I'd like to thank Brian for asking that good question. And so until next time, keep thinking of some more questions. Bye-bye.